We start, we give up. Why so? Let's explore. Throughout history, we have had instances of perseverance. In fact, very recently, you must have seen this movie called Purna, or I'm sure you must have heard about Purna, the youngest Indian girl to climb Mount Everest. In fact, she was the youngest girl in the world to climb Mount Everest. Physical perseverance. Oh, before that, Roger Bannister. Physical perseverance. Now, when I say the word perseverance, it's not about that physical tenacity. It's also about that intellectual tenacity. Intellectual perseverance as displayed by Nobel Prize winners, as displayed by Isaac Newton. So today we'll explore the virtue of perseverance. In classical ethics, perseverance is referred to as fortitude. And in simple words, perseverance refers to the effort, to the tenacity, to the determination which helps us overcome difficulties, obstacles to achieve short-term or long-term goals. Humans are goal-oriented. And it's perseverance that helps us achieve those goals, despite obstacles or difficulties. That's what perseverance means in simple terms. If you look at perseverance from Aristotelian perspective, Aristotle said perseverance is a mean between two extremes. On one extreme is irresoluteness, on the other extreme is intransigence. So in between comes perseverance. So we'll be exploring this first. Let's start by understanding what does Aristotle mean by irresolute behavior and what does he mean by intransigent behavior. How many times this must have happened to you? You start your homework, you start a project very enthusiastically, and midway through you just drop it because you got bored of it. Or for example, as a student, this is with me also. As a student, suppose if I have a maths homework, and suppose if I'm not able to do it, I just leave it. Instead of persevering through, I just leave it. So what happens is we start a project and suddenly we hit the first obstacle. We just give up. Now that kind of behavior is the exact opposite of perseverance. This is what is called irresolute behavior. When you become irresolute, you know the importance of the goal, but you give up because you don't feel like doing it. Giving up at the first sight of obstacle is irresoluteness. That's one extreme. What Aristotle pointed out was the other extreme, which is intransigence. There are goals in life which are impossible to achieve. Like, for example, sometimes we set goals which are absolutely impossible, but still we continue pursuing that. Now, that's foolish. Now, that is what is called intransigence. For example, imagine you looking for a fountain of youth. Imagine you looking for a chemical that's going to turn every metal into gold. Now, that's an impossible pursuit. Now, this is what Aristotle called as intransigence. So, perseverance is in between irresoluteness and intransigence. It's an in-between position. Irresolute people give up at the first sight of obstacle. Intransigent people, they don't know when to stop. Now the question is, what are the characteristics or who are the people who persevere? In other words, what are the qualities of people who persevere? Let's explore that. The first feature of persevering individuals is that they don't give up. They continue their goal achievement drive with all serious effort despite the difficulties they encounter. This is the most important aspect of persevering individuals. It's not the effort. They're very wise in selecting goals. We all have goals, but those goals should be achievable. We should not create goals for ourselves which are impossible to achieve. So persevering individuals are very, very wise in selecting goals. In fact, they'll select goals which are suitable to their abilities. Besides effort and wisdom, one more quality these persevering individuals have is that when they face obstacles, they don't want to show to the world that they are overcoming these difficulties or obstacles to prove a point to the world. No. They're doing it as an act of self-fulfillment. And one of the best examples I can think of this is Roger Bannister. You should watch this movie, Chariots of Fire. That'll give you an idea what I'm talking about. But let's not get to the story of the movie. But a small thing which I'd like to remind you all is this, that perseverance is all about act of self-fulfillment. You're not overcoming difficulties to prove a point to somebody. It is for your own self. The most important aspect of a persevering individual is how they respond to failure, how they respond to disappointments. The interesting aspect here is, in the face of disappointment or frustrations, they will not react in an irrational manner. They'll have a very emotionally appropriate response. They will not be crushed by failures. They'll be disappointed by it. Because if you're crushed, you will never fight back. Disappointments are okay. Resistance to obstacles and difficulties is what makes perseverance a virtue. Let's understand what kind of obstacles we are talking about. Let's understand what kind of difficulties we are talking about. And the two kinds of obstacles I have in mind, one is internal and one is external. Let's start by understanding what internal obstacles I'm talking about. You know, we all start projects, we all start working on something with a I can attitude. Oh, I can do it. But slowly, as we get into the project, the I can becomes, can I? A big question. And that can I attitude is nothing but self-doubt. One of your biggest obstacles we have is self-doubt. We start doubting our own abilities as the project moves on. That's the first thing. Second, procrastination. We tend to procrastinate. Oh, let's do this tomorrow. Let me start tomorrow. Third thing is boredom. We get bored. You start. Because when you start working on a certain project or a task, it becomes monotonous, doing the same thing again every single day. So the boredom sets in. Now, these are all internal obstacles. When I say external obstacles, I refer to the externals. For example, it can be poverty. It can be, say, injustice. Or most importantly, in today's world, you know, social distractions are a big external obstacle. It distracts you from your goals, external distractions from your goals. So all these are external obstacles. So if you ask me, more important is overcoming the internal obstacles, because that's where mental strength comes in. And perseverance is all about that mental strength. Remember that. When I said perseverance is all about overcoming obstacles and difficulties, focus on the word I said and difficulties. I just elaborated on obstacles. Let's understand what is the difficulty I'm talking about. When I say difficulty, what I mean is the nature of the task. Persevering individuals will not pick up a task which is easy to achieve. They'll pick up a task which is difficult to achieve, a goal which has a certain degree of difficulty. When I say difficulty, it means a goal that stretches your abilities, that tests your strength, that tests your mental strength, that pushes you to the extreme. Now that's the difficulty I'm talking about. Now let's try to understand why perseverance matters. Why is it so important? Why is that perseverance should be considered as a virtue? Let's explore that. The first factor why perseverance matters is because it contributes to our success. As Victor Hugo wrote in the book, The Man Who Laughs, it's a secret of all triumphs. Listen to the phrase, it's a secret to all triumphs. When Victor Hugo spoke about the virtue of perseverance, it was more from literature because he was a literary figure. But let's come down to modern day research. Modern day research very conclusively points out the relevance of perseverance as a catalyst to success. In fact, right from 1892 onwards, when Francis Galton wrote a book where he compiled biographies of people, just to point out that it's not talent alone, it's perseverance also that contributes. In fact, he wrote in the book, success comes from ability combined with zeal and with capacity for hard labor. Similarly, after 1892, in 1926, Catherine Cox compiled biography of 301 influential people. And there she found out that along with moderate level of IQ, it was their tenacity and perseverance that contributed to their success. Most recently, Angela Duckworth, in her book Grit, she identifies the importance of passion and perseverance for long-term goal achievement. In fact, the book Grit, it's worth reading. You all should read that book. Oh, I have two book recommendations. One, you should try reading Grit by Angela Duckworth, and second, Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. And if you look at both the books, they dwell a lot on importance of perseverance. We can safely conclude after all the recent researches that perseverance is valuable. But remember, perseverance is a valuable contributor to success, but perseverance alone can never guarantee success. So it has to be combined with other things also. So that's the lesson we have learned. And interestingly, UPSC also had a question on perseverance. And the question goes somewhat like this. Every work has got to pass through hundreds of difficulties before succeeding. Those that persevere will see the light sooner or later. Swami Vivekananda, 2021. Before I close, a word of advice. Be wise in selecting goals. Persevere. Success is guaranteed. See you soon. Happy learning.